This week, we're in Allendale for another edition of Hops. We stop in at Trail Point Brewing Company and sit down with co-owner and brewer Jeff Knoblock. As always, we're discussing 3 beers with 3 unique stories behind them. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hops with Hey Lou. Up first, we have the Henry Lee Strong Ale, an ode to one particular veteran.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What is a strong ale?
A strong ale is actually more of a malt forward, usually higher in alcohol. More of a, it's a European, more of a European style. It was something that we added here to our portfolio a couple years ago, and we didn't have one, and it's been kind of turned into a flagship of ours. The name Henry Lee is actually my partner Gary, his grandfather's name. He was a old World War I veteran.
So tell me about a little bit about the color on this one too, because that was something that immediately caught my eye.
Yeah,
with
so
that kind of malt
this beer
forward.
is it's wonderful. It's got a really nice dark copper color to it. We have a lot of caramel malts in there. We use some English base malts in there as well as an English yeast, and you're going to get some notes of caramel, toffee, maybe a little bit of fig, and some dried fruit.
Second, the Hazypotomus Hazy Ale, an increasingly popular type of beer.
Cheers.
Cheers. So this one is a New England style, or we'll call it an East Coast style IPA, juicy. You're going to notice a little bit more of the hop presence in the beer. We do kind of have some bitterness in that beer as well, so it's going to help balance out some of the sweetness in there. The haze comes from our water adjustments and basically our water chemistry, as well as a good amount of oats that we add to the beer. When the haze craze, I'll call it, came running strong, we didn't have one in our portfolio, so we had our flagship Hazypotomus, and we kind of did basically a variant of that name and called it Hazypotomus, and it's really becoming a flagship of ours and a very popular beer.
You know, I want to talk about too, like the booming popularity of like the hazies. Like how, where do you think that came from? Obviously sours are popular right now too. Where do you think that came from?
Brewers having fun. It really just became it's really no holds bar, if you will. So it's experimentation. It's a lot of research. It's trial and error. And as we continue to develop, the growers on the hop end are constantly changing their varieties, constantly breeding different strains of hops. Same with malt growers, are coming up with different varieties. The maltsters and the farmers that grow the malt, they're coming up with different varieties that are actually changing beer and adding complexity to things.
And lastly, the MobFather Double IPA, a nod to the roots.
So this is a double IPA.
Cheers.
And this is going to have that New England hazy appearance to it. Mm-hmm. We do use citra hops in this beer as well, along with Idaho 7 and a Michigan variety called Hydra. So we really the story behind this beer and the name MobFather, it was really a tribute to our roots. We were all home brewers when we started this a dozen years ago, and it was really hard to get ingredients, but there was one place in West Michigan, and I think that really helped West Michigan beer scene grow, and it was Barb and Steve Siciliano from Siciliano's Market. Them and their team have always been really involved with home brewing, and we wanted to pay a tribute to them. And our home brewing club back in the day was called the Mob, the Muskegon Ottawa Brewers, and that's kind of a little derivative from the name.
As for its creation,
we actually do not put a lot of hops in the beginning of the boil. So in the beginning of the boil in the brewing process, you're going to grab a lot of that bitterness out of those hops and out of that oil. If we kind of wait to put those hops in the towards the end of the boil, or the whirlpool, I'll call it, we'll get these flavors, but we won't strip out a lot of that bitterness out of the beer. So it gives it that really kind of that juicy, this one's almost got a little bit of lemony, lemongrass kind of flavors to it.
be sure to follow Wood TV on Instagram for an exclusive clip not seen in this episode of Hops. For all episodes, head over to woodtv.com and click the Watch tab.